Shema Yasrala Yahweh Allahayanawa Yahweh Achad Shema Yasrala Yahweh Allahayanawa Yahweh Achad Shema Yasrala Yahweh Allahayanawa Yahweh Achad Baruch Yahweh Baruch Yahweh Shai Baruch Yahweh Baruch Yahweh Shai Baruch Yahweh Baruch Yahweh Shai Bahasor Hadash. I want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone of the World, as well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Of the high spirit within Levi. And today I want to go into a topic going into how Jacob was a lean man, all right, or Israelite man is a lean man, okay? Now, you do have Israelites with different body types, different physiques. You know, you have certain Jakes that just naturally swole, but generally speaking, the Most High didn't make the Israelite man like a rhinoceros, all right? Like you have these steroid pumped up bodybuilders, right? Because now everybody is basically stimulus junkies, right? So what had happened is bigger is better. Pit bulls have gotten bigger, women have gotten bigger, bodybuilders have gotten bigger. In the American mindset, bigger is better. But the Most High made the Israelite man and the Israelite woman lean. Don't get me wrong, we like curvaceous women, all right? But that body type that the Most High gave us is lean. And so a brother, he sent me a comment on behalf of a video I did a couple days ago. He was basically telling me that, you know, the Most High made the sons of God, that their bodies had to have been lean, all right? Saying that we ate mostly, you know, fruit, vegetables, nuts, all right, grains, you know, little meats. We went to war a lot, we fasted a lot. So he basically surmised that the Israelite man must have been lean, but I concur. All right. I agree. The Most High made the Israelite man like a horse. And I think back on shows like Good Times, which I wasn't, you know, born when it came out, but of course I've seen the reruns. Good Times, right? You watch an episode of Good Times. Everybody except the mom was lean. All right. Even John Amos, his character, he was built. He wasn't this exaggerated, you know, 250 pound, 300 pound bodybuilder dude. You see? But yes, the natural Israelite man, the Most High made the Israelite man lean. All right? Because food, when it comes from the ground, it is not, when the food is not um, processed, processed in facilities. All right? It's not injected with poison called preservatives and additives and different chemicals. But it's not laced. Like a cigarette is laced with methamphetamine, a cigarette is laced with chemicals. Food is laced, so-called food is laced with chemicals. Okay? But when it's not laced, then all the food that the Most High created for us, it makes you lean. Even like grass-fed meat and all that, you know, it makes you lean. I was talking to someone um, who owned a restaurant, all right, and basically he was from Lebanon. He's supposed to be Ishmael, but he could be an Israelite. He really vibes with Jake. But I asked him, what's all the hype about bread? Because in America, you know, bread is carbs, and carbs is perceived as a bad thing. But where you're from, that's part of the culture to eat a lot of bread. So what's your take on bread? And he was like, what was he saying? He said that they basically make bread from scratch. And he said when it comes to bread, if it lasts longer than 3 days, it's no good. All right, if bread lasts longer than 3 days, it's no good. And he was like, carbs is not bad. It's based on, you know, the element that carb came from, for example. But apple has carbs. Does that make it a bad thing? And, you know, he had a point. You got complex carbs and all these things. But basically, he was saying that if bread lasts longer than 3 days, it's no good. So typically, a lot of us go for bread that's on the shelf because it's more affordable. But these are the same things that make us store weight, store waste, because it solidifies in your body and it makes other food accumulate and rot in your body. All right, your body has to figure out what to store that excess toxins and excess weight, so we gain weight. You know, Same thing with processed meat, processed dairy. All right, it has an extract that it secretes plaque, or as Dr. Sabi will call it, mucus. If you ever cook ground beef, especially if it's not grass fed, it secretes that oil. It secretes that oil, that fat, and what happens is when that oil solidifies, when that heat, when you turn the stove off, all right, and that skillet cools off, what happens to that oil? It solidifies, all right? It solidifies. And what happens when you consume food like that? That oil, that fat, it solidifies in your arteries, thus thinning out your blood flow, thus thinning out your arteries. Now, the number one cause of death for the so-called black man after the age of 44 is heart disease. Where does heart disease come from? Ultimately clogged up arteries. Okay? So you have clogged up arteries, but then you have fat, you have stuff, and you have starch. All right? All type of starch and different gunk in your body that cause you to gain weight. So they did a study and they found out that even if we ate exactly how we ate, or the same portion of food that we ate back in the 80s, we will never be as small. We'll still be like 10% bigger because the food is more processed now. So processed food causes weight gain, and it causes your waistline to increase. Okay? It's not natural, especially for an Israelite man. They have a large waistline. All right? But I can tell you from experience, that comes from processed meat or processed bread. People don't talk about bread a lot, but bread is that processed bread. It's just as bad, man. All right, but it's not that meat is bad or dairy is bad or meat bread is bad. It's just processed. But the original physique for the Israelite man was lean. Think about Jake in the 70s. You can look at a picture of your parents back in the 70s or maybe even the 80s, and they were all skinny, man. All right. The average Jake might have been 140 pounds, 150 pounds. I was reading this book called Fallen Angels back in high school, and these were Jakes in the military, right? And it was one of the Jakes that was in the unit. He weighed 170 pounds, and they called him fat. This is in the book, like I said, Fallen Angels. So this book took place. I want to say the Vietnam War. I think the book took place around the Vietnam War. So just imagine back in the 50s and 60s, that's when the Vietnam War took place. You weighing 170 pounds and someone calling you fat. you know, Now a lot of men would like to get down to 170, 180. That's ideal now to weigh 170, 180. The average Israelite woman weighs about 180 plus. So just imagine in the 60s and the 50s, if you weigh 170, someone might call you fat, man. All right? Because a lot of Israelite men, they have, I would say, a small frame, they naturally weigh 140. A large frame, you may naturally weigh 167, 170, depending on your height. You see? But a lot of us have to be educated because we were never educated, including myself. I'm on a journey to learning what was the most high intention for everything. Starting with my teachers, the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Started with medicine being, I gotta be careful with my words. But the healing comes from the earth. Starting from the processed food is basically adverse to your body. That's the education. That's part of the education. That's part of being a new creature and learning all things new. As though you're someone who came back from a coma or a stroke, and you have to learn how to talk and walk again. You know, I know Jakes that had strokes in their 30s because they grew up eating. They never stopped eating swine and fried food, and they had strokes in their 30s. It's Israelites that had heart attacks in their late 20s. All right. One thing a lot of Israelites have in common in America, they're all overweight. And when I say the Israelite, I mean the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man. All right. Because for one, we have the dietary law, which prohibits us from eating scavengers and bottom feeders. But like I said in the last lesson through the Spirit, along with the dietary law, it was it was eaten in context of the Mediterranean diet, man. All right, which is more vegetable based, fruit and vegetable based, man. Which is more fish. If you want to say quote unquote meat, it was more fish based. All right. Now, granted, we would eat our bread defiled amongst the Gentiles because there's certain things we can't control. You know, you could make an effort to buy organic, but as far as the chemicals and what they do in the ocean, because they say, well, farm raised fish, all right, they're highly populated amongst each other. They have no swimming space, a lot of blood, a lot of fecal matter. It's a tight confined space, and that's not healthy. Fish eating fish waste and things of that nature. Then in the ocean, all right, it's a lot of mercury spilled in the ocean. All right. So, like I said, we're going to ultimately eat our bread defiled amongst the Gentiles. The goal is to get the best of the worst, whether it's fruit, vegetables, fish, whatever. All right. But ultimately, you have to understand also, the Most High made the Israelite man and Israelite woman to be lean. All right. There's a bodybuilder by the name of Cali Muscle. All right. And I remember maybe 10 years ago, he was calling bodybuilders who are more plant based. He was like, you Abercrombie and Fitch bodybuilders, you asparagus eating bodybuilders, like those lean bodybuilders, right? And this back when he was like a rhinoceros, he was just swole on top of swole. But then unfortunately, he had a heart attack. And he was taking steroids and all that, but he also attributed that heart attack to, pizza, pepperoni pizza and all that bread and cheese. And now he's advocating being more lean and eating one meal a day, maybe 2 meals a day. So now he's a whole lot more leaner than he was. And there's another bodybuilder, and I forget his name, but I think he's also from Cali, man. And I remember when I remember 10, 11 years ago when he was that guy, you know. And long story short, he had a heart attack and he had to get a heart replacement. But the thing that's keeping him stable right now is that he switched his diet to be more plant-based and he let go of that standard American diet. And ultimately, a lot of them were juicing using steroids, but imagine that with the standard American diet, man. So, like I said, the number one cause of death for the so-called black man after the age of 44 is heart disease, which comes from ultimately clogged up arteries, man. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, all those things is really a result of what Dr. Saban would call mucus, really fat or mucus in your arteries, which stands out your blood flow, which stands out your oxygen supply. So now your heart isn't getting oxygen pumped to it because your heart is like a piece of technology. There's an input-output device. So you got blood in and blood out. It's pumping blood inwardly within this organ, and it's pumping blood out of it. That's why you have a lot of Israelite men after a certain age, they get some kind of stent. And what is a stent? It's a fake artery. All right? It's a fake artery. That's not normal. So the doctors, the surgeons, they open up your chest and they replace that dead artery, that ruined non-functional artery with a fake artery, a fake passageway to get blood to your heart. Because those fats, those oils, and that processed food, man, it blocked out that passageway. Where do you think a blood clot comes from? I even found out that dementia is a result of a lack of oxygen to your brain. Or what causes a lack of oxygen to your brain? All right, uh, plaque in your arteries, what they call mucus in your arteries, man. All right, years of never cleansing, years of never scraping your arteries, years of not exercising and not allowing your heart to really pump blood through your arteries, man. All right, and what happens is we're in the so-called white man's fish tank, and 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 instead of us eating food that's in our natural environment, we're eating food that he feeds us through his corporations. All right, figuratively speaking, he's sprinkling his little bullshit in our fish tank. Thus, consequently, we getting sick. We struggling with obesity. We not liking what we see when we look in the mirror. All right, we being tired all the time. Okay, we being tired all the time, man. All right, but if you do away with the processed food and you allow your body to reset itself as a food digesting machine, a food assimilating and eliminating machine, you're gonna see your waistline get smaller. That's if you're somebody that's heavier, that has that slower metabolism like myself. All right, you're gonna see your waistline get smaller. All right, you're gonna realize you have more energy. You're gonna see your stomach get flatter. All right, because the goal is the fix your machine you call your body and turn it back to a food assimilating and a food eliminating machine. All right, because the purpose of real food, fruit, vegetables, nuts, grains, or whatever food you eat is from the earth. All right, the purpose of it, your body is to turn that food and utilize it into energy. All right, ultimately you're feeding your cells. All right, you eliminate the extracts, okay, through something called a bowel movement. All right, and there's this doctor by the name of food scientist by the name of Dr. Aris Latham or Latham or Latham. I forgot to pronounce it, but he basically says that when you wake up, you breaking the fast when you eat. Hence the term breakfast. You break fast. But what they tell you is that you first of all you break your fast with bread and meat, and that actually stops your digestive machine up, man. All right, really, you eliminate waste with fruit. The first thing you're supposed to eat is fruit. All right, because that facilitates a bowel movement. Because what happens is overnight your body is repairing itself, and you have the cleanup crew that takes over your body overnight while you're sleeping, while you're fasting. And at the end of that shift in your body, that cleanup crew shift, all right, it bags up everything, but you have to eliminate that waste that it conjured up overnight, that it cleaned up overnight, and you clean it up with fruit that's high in moisture and fiber, because it's going to lubricate your digestive system. It's going to shock your digestive system and cause you to have a bowel movement. And if you continue that cycle over a period of time, allowing your body to have what they call an elimination phase, all right, to eliminate waste, you're gonna realize that a lot of your weight issues came from a stopped up digestive system with things such as processed bread and processed meats, over a period of time. So you're accumulating fat, you know. But once again, all these things cause us to be wider and bloated and sick. And we go to Esau's little clinics, all right, and get prescribed pills, all right, that don't fix the culprit or the root of the problem, but just suppresses the symptoms of the problem, all right? And you could be on 10, 20 different of his little pills, okay? And the body is not compartmentalized like that, all right? So you have 10, 20 different problems that's rooted in 10, 20 different sources. No, it's all sourced in the same things, man, okay? But for one, you have the dietary law, and secondly, you have the context in which you keep the dietary law. All right, and it's outside the standard diet, man. Okay, minimizing processed food. All right, but with that, I do hope your brothers and sisters were edified. All right, once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Kakodash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who are well, as well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Abba Baal, come out, Shalom. And so I pulled over and parked. Let me get this scripture that the brother put out. GMS food convenient. Sirach 30 and 15. Health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. Kind. But like I said, with that, holy brothers and sisters were edified. Once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh Bahasam Yahushua Bahasam Chakodas, the honor to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone rule well. Peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Baba Baal, come here, Shalom.